Hello everyone, Berthan here with an in-depth guide on Sword. I am a Sword main and have played a tremendous amount of games with Sword on Bodvar, having him be at level 89, and my other Sword characters are also at a decent level. I will be going over each move on Sword, detailing their strengths and weaknesses. Then I will explain the different situations to use them in and give some overall tips at the end. Sidelight has average startup frames, very long active frames, covers a large area but has very little range, and have low recovery frames. It does very little damage unless you hit the enemy up close, then it does a lot of damage. Downlight has decent startup frames, subpar active frames, covers a very narrow area with good range and high recovery frames. This move is an amazing combo starter, so it has the greatest true damage output potential on Sword. Neutral Light has low startup frames, the lowest on Sword, long recovery frames, covers a big area with decent range and decent recovery frames. It has the highest single hit damage on the ground. Neutral Air has high startup frames, short active frames, and covers a wide area with decent upward range and subpar recovery frames. It does a lot of damage. You can move left and right while doing this move as with every air move except for the ground pound. Down air is very similar to the neutral air with some slight differences. It has shorter vertical and horizontal range, but only slightly. It does a considerable amount less damage if not hit directly from the center, and only slightly less damage if hit from the center. Other than that, the two moves are pretty much the same, but one hits above and one hits below. Side air has average startup frames, subpar active frames, covers a narrow area with long range, the longest on Sword, and very high recovery frames, also the highest on Sword. This move has good damage if both hitboxes hit the enemy, but is very low if only one of the hitboxes connect. Recovery has incredibly short startup frames for an air move, only one more than Neutral Light. It has a lot of active frames, covers a huge area, but it has really short range. Its range is basically your character model. This move can have incredible damage output but does very little damage per hitbox, so it often does very little damage unless it starts right on top of your enemy's hitbox. Ground pounds in general are slower than the other weapon bound moves, so when I say fast, I mean for a ground pound, which is basically average speed for other weapon bound moves, and so on. The ground pound has relatively short startup frames, active frames last until you hit, very narrow hitboxes but moves downward incredibly fast, has relatively low recovery frames, and it does pretty good damage. Now that I've went over all the Sword moves, let's talk about how to use the moves effectively in the neutral game, which is the part of the game when neither player have any advantage over the other and are trying to land the first hit onto the enemy. On the ground, Sword is really good against weapons of similar range or lower, such as unarmed, katars, gauntlets, and swords because of its decent range and fast moves, which lets it keep up with the speed of short-range weapons while outranging them. When the enemy is within range of Neutral Light, it is often the best move to use because it has good size and speed while having a large hitbox that can catch your enemy at the start or end of their jump. It can catch your enemy a lot if they tend to engage by dodging forward into your Neutral Light range, since it has long active frames and can potentially outlast your opponent's dodge. If the enemy usually spot dodges like this, or back dodges outside your Neutral Light range, then use Sidelight since it covers a huge area and has really long active frames, making it more likely to hit your enemies after their dodge finishes. Downlight is pretty much the ace up your sleeve. You don't really want to use it very often because of its narrow hitbox and lackluster speed, but when you know you can hit it, like when the enemy misses a signature or they dodge really terribly so you know they're coming, then you can do major damage with downlight combos. For downlight follow-ups, when the enemy is at low damage like white and yellow, then down air will let you follow up really well with moves like side air and neutral light, which will do a great deal of damage. If the enemy is at around orange damage, then they'll get hit too far with down air to actually follow up, so going for downlight recovery at this point is a good choice, since recovery has the highest damage output of any downlight basic combo. And when the enemy is at red health, downlight side air will hit them pretty far off the platform, so you can go in for an edge guard. Or with good positioning, it could knock them out. If you have trouble with the sword basic combos, then I made an in-depth tutorial on how to do them that you can check out. The sword is really strong in the air because its air moves are very versatile and hard to punish. I would say it's a lot better to fight in the air than on the ground against longer range weapons such as lance, spear, guns, axe, and hammer. Because sword speed on the ground doesn't help if the enemy outranges it, while it can approach from a lot of different angles in the air with its versatile moveset. When the enemy is above you, then use neutral air to hit the enemy, even if they're not directly above. It has a relatively wide hitbox and good range, so it covers a lot of area above it, and since it does not hinder your movements along with its decent recovery frames, it is almost free to use. So when the enemy jumps a lot above you, especially double jumped, then use this move a lot as well. As mentioned earlier, the down air is very similar to neutral air, so when the enemy is below you, then down air will cover that area very well. Combining down air with fast falling makes it a very good move to approach from above if the enemy tends to be more grounded and has more range than you. Jump around to bait out a move and then fast fall down air to get an easy punish. Side air has the fastest startup in the air for sword, and since it also has the longest range, it can punish enemies with moves or bad positioning very well. Don't use it too often though, because it has long recovery frames. Recovery is really good at catching evasive jumpers who like to jump really high around you because it's so fast and reaches far with many active frames. It's really short range though, so be careful to throw it out only when the enemy is being evasive or they're really close to you. The strongest edge guarding move for sword is the ground pound because of how fast and strong it is. If the enemy is below you, then go for a ground pound and then follow up with down air, and that will usually knock them out. But if not, then go for another down air or redo ground pound into down air. That covers the neutral game. Now I will go over some tips and tricks to maximize your damage output and minimize the damage that you take. Neutral light is an amazing follow-up for moves that misses but put you on the ground because it starts up so fast that it will catch the enemies off guard, so that if the enemy has a tendency to try to punish you after every move, go for neutral light quickly and it might hit them. Recovery is also another fast starter move, but you should only follow it up with connected hits most of the time because of the short range. Follow up with down air and neutral air works the best. Similarly, side air has relatively fast startup time in the air, so if you miss an air move and the enemy is to your left or right, then you can throw out a quick side air to cover yourself. Or you can mask a side air with a quick neutral air or down air to make it harder to see coming. Since sword moves are very fast, they can be used with speed dodges very effectively for powerful mix-ups to keep you unpredictable. You can follow downlight with gravity cancels, which is done by pressing the dodge key with no directional input and immediately doing an attack afterwards. The follow-up that gives the most damage is into another downlight, so that you can chain up the combo up to 3 hits. You can chase dodge into neutral air into recovery after a downlight as well, but it's only true at white damage. If you touch the ground in the middle of an air attack, then you move about 10% faster because moving on the ground is faster than on the air, so you can back off faster or move closer to the enemy in case your air attack needs an extra boost to catch the enemy. But if it looks like it will miss, then you can back up as well. The last tip I can give you is to be creative. Sword is arguably one of the most, if not the most versatile weapon in the game, so you can do some pretty crazy things with it. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, then please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this one.